Joining us now is Rick Bloom. He is a financial advisor with Bloom Advisors with us on the MegaCast. Rick, thank you for being with us again.
Well, thanks so much for having me, and a happy, healthy new year to you and all your listeners.
Yes, you as well, Rick, and your entire team over there at Bloom Advisors. And so near the end of last year, we talked to you about ways that people should be preparing their finances for the new year, or ways that they should be preparing to wrap up their finances from 2021 as they prepare for taxes and for other things that are coming up in the year ahead of them as well. But going into 2022, into a new year, what should people be doing financially at the beginning of the year to set them up both best financially for the year ahead and for their future as well?
You know, it's so important that people take control of their personal finances because we live in an ever-changing world. I believe there's like 5 different areas that people need to take into consideration. And this is a great time of year to do it, especially winter here in Michigan. One is you need to look at your estate planning needs. When's the last time you've had your estate plan up to date? If you haven't done an estate plan, you need to make sure that you do it. And one thing that surprised a lot of people on estate planning, there's a lot you can do for free. You don't necessarily have to have a lawyer, but it's important that we take care of our estate planning needs. And it's important to remember, estate planning is just not upon death. It also deals with how to handle a family emergency. The second area I think everyone needs to look at is their tax situation. Some people think about taxes only on April 15th, and that's a mistake. You need to have an overall game plan and look at your tax situation. 3, I believe it's important to look at risk management. A lot of people like to call it insurance. I think the area is risk management. Are you properly covered with different risks? When's the last time you shopped around your automobile insurance, shopped around your homeowner's insurance, asked for discounts? So I think it's a good time to look at the whole area of risk management. What type of insurance policies you may need? Do you have the right type of insurance? 4, I think it's important to look at debt. Debt management is so important today. People get in such trouble because debt is so easy to get into. You have to be efficient with debt, and you have to really know what you have, because when it comes time to pay it off, what you pay off first may make a difference. And lastly, I think it's important this time of year to relook at your investment strategies. Those of you who have 401ks may not have looked at it in a year. You need to look at how your funds have done. Do you have the right strategy? And I know that a lot of this takes a lot of time. But the reality is, as adults, we have to look at our personal financial affairs. We can't put them in automatic pilot because it doesn't work that way. When you talk about your investments, people think that you just put in an investment, you forget about it. But an investment is like a garden. You could have the best garden in the world, but if you don't tend to take care of it, down the road it doesn't look so good. It's the same thing with portfolios. So those are the 5 areas I think that everyone needs to focus on. And I don't care what shape you're in financially, you could always make tomorrow better than it is today.
We're joined by Rick Bloom. He is the financial advisor over at Bloom Advisors, joining us on the MegaCast, and he also writes a weekly, quote-unquote, Money Matters column with Hometown Life newspapers. You can learn more information and read those articles at hometownlife.com. And Rick, on one of those articles that you recently wrote on hometownlife.com, you discussed the differences between traditional 401ks and Roth 401ks. And as you talk about people keeping up with their investments or beginning to refocus their investment strategy for 2022. Can you tell us a little bit about the key differences between those two kinds of 401k investment plans, as well as who can benefit from each?
Let me first say, if you have a 401k plan at work, you almost slam dunk should take advantage of it. These are great ways to save for retirement. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't save too much for retirement, because retirement is a brand new concept in the history of mankind. So when you look at the difference between a traditional 401k and Roth 401k, it deals with taxes mostly. In a traditional 401k, you are putting into the plan pre-tax money. So it's money you've never been taxed on. The money grows tax deferred within a 401k. And then when you start withdrawing it after 59 and a half, that's when you pay the taxes on the money. So whatever comes out of a traditional 401k is taxed at your ordinary income bracket. In addition, when you turn 72, you must begin taking minimum required distributions. It's a formula by law. In a Roth IRA, you're putting in post-tax money, money that you've already paid taxes on. However, the benefit is that when the money's withdrawn from the Roth 401k, it's withdrawn tax-free. So you never pay tax on that money. In addition, in a Roth 401k, you can roll the money over into a Roth IRA, and then you're not subject to the minimum required distributions at age 72. You can let that money grow tax-free as long as you choose. In fact, you never have to take a distribution. And if you pass away and you still owned a Roth IRA, then your beneficiaries can take that money out income tax-free. Particularly the younger you are, the longer you can let money grow, Roth 401ks are a slam dunk. So I always tell recent graduates that are just starting their career, do the Roth 401k. It may cost you a little more in taxes today, but down the road, it'll be significant tax savings.
We're joined by Rick Bloom. He's the financial advisor with Bloom Advisors, and you can learn more information about the difference between a traditional 401k and a Roth IRA from Rick in his Money Matters column at hometownlife.com. And so Monday, the Dow on the stock market, the Dow finished up by 0.7% or nearly 250 points, logging a new record high on the first trading day of 2022. Similarly, the S&P 500, the broadest measure of Wall Street, that closed to a record of being up 0.6%. For those who are not taking part in trading stocks, what advice do you have for beginners who feel like they're either left out or they're just not familiar with it, but they're interested and they want to get involved before they take those steps and start investing?
You know, a lot of people think it takes a lot of money to invest. It doesn't. You could start with $10. Today, companies like Fidelity and Schwab offer mutual funds that you can invest in, or even individual stocks, without commissions for low minimum. So really, in today's world, there's no excuse not to invest money. The reality, if you want your money to grow, the stock market's a great place for it. And I think it's important to learn all you can. Now, what I always tell people, the stock market is not gambling. Most people want to invest in what's hot. That's not the way you invest. The way, whether you're sophisticated or not, you should invest based upon your goals and objectives. What are you saving for? If you're saving for retirement that's 20, 30 years down the road, you belong in the stock market. If you're saving for a new house that you want to buy in June, you don't belong in the stock market. So it's goals and objectives that really dictate how you invest your money. And the second thing people have to realize is risk. Now, everyone thinks the stock market is risky. But let me tell you this, Tyler, there's no investment anyone can tell me that doesn't have risk. There's no such thing as risk-free investing. It doesn't exist. People think if you leave your money in the bank, they think it's risk-free, but it's not. And the reason is when you look at the interest and that you're paying taxes on it, that money doesn't keep up with the increased cost of living. So I think for new investors, what they need to do, they need to focus on what they're trying to accomplish, and that is that time frame. And then to start slowly. Again, companies like Fidelity and Schwab now offer zero minimum investments with zero commissions. So people can start with $10, $20 just to get their feet wet. And I'll tell you about investing. It's the only hobby I know of, Tyler, that you can actually make money as opposed to costing you money.
We're joined by Rick Bloom, a financial advisor at Bloom Advisors, with us on the MegaCast. You can learn more about all things on the financial front and get many of his very helpful tips that we get here when he comes on our show occasionally here on the MegaCast by reading his Money Matters column at hometownlife.com. Again, hometownlife.com, where he writes a Money Matters column in the Hometown Life newspapers. And so it's tough at this moment in time to tune into pretty much any cable news or really any cable television channel and not end up being bombarded with ads for life insurance. So on that front, who should be considering getting life insurance. Who is that for? Who's a candidate to purchase it? And what should they be considering if they are a candidate for life insurance before they make a purchase?
First of all, people should realize life insurance is not an investment. A lot of the agents like to sell it as an investment, but it's not. I never think it's a good idea that I got to pass on to collect on something. Life insurance is a matter of risk. If you ask yourself, if I pass away, does anyone lose out financially? If no one loses out financially, you don't need life insurance. On the other hand, if your death is going to cause financial distress, then life insurance is one way of handling that. And there are many different types of life insurance policies. For the great majority of people, I recommend term insurance. It is the least expensive and it allows you to shop around. So term insurance, Tyler, is like you could buy $100,000 for 30 years. And so you pay your premium, you have coverage for 30 years. And I think for most people, that's the type of insurance they need to look at. And what you're trying to do is replace your income if something happens to you. So if you're a young family and you're the working spouse and you have minor children, well, you need life insurance to make sure those children and the spouse can maintain their lifestyle after you pass. And by buying term insurance, it is a fraction of the cost of all the other types of insurance they try to sell you. Because one thing people have to realize, the reason why life insurance is sold so much is because of the commissions. Commissions are huge. I'm a big believer of in commission-free investing, that people should be aware of their costs. And they should be aware of costs in life insurance as well. And with term insurance, it's easy to shop around and get competitive bids. Everyone thinks that one insurance company is the same. They're not. They have different price structures, and by shopping around, people can be more efficient. And this is a great time here to relook at your life insurance coverage to make sure you have the right type of life insurance. And if you don't need it, look at canceling it. Why pay for something you don't need?
And so, Rick, on another form of media on the radio, you hear a lot of ads also about timeshares, mostly for getting out of a timeshare and the struggles that come along with that. How do so many people end up falling into, for lack of better terms, the trap of those timeshares? And then on top of that, should anyone ever do that? And if they do and they realize that they've made a mistake, how do they go about getting out of it?
Well, first of all, the reason why so many people buy timeshares, because they sell them a lot of times in vacation locations. So you're on vacation, you're in Cancun, you're in Miami. When you're on vacation, you naturally let your guard down. And what they do is they invite you to some event, free dinner, free show, this or that. And people feel obligated. They get you in a room and they have some very high pressure salespeople. I think the great majority of people ought to avoid timeshares. They don't seem to make sense. They're expensive. What people don't realize is that year after year, you still have to pay an annual maintenance fee, which can be very expensive, and that maintenance fee can go up. The problem is you sign a contract, so once you're in a timeshare, it's difficult to get out of it. There are now a variety of companies that will take that burden away from you. However, you're not going to get the money you paid for your timeshare. And if you were thinking about buying a timeshare, the best way to buy it is on the used market, because people are selling it for a fraction on the dollar. But I would tell most people they ought to avoid it. It sounds nice. Oh, you get to go on vacation all the time. But the reality is a little different. And the other thing is, never buy anything expensive when you're on vacation, because you naturally have your guard down, and that's where people take advantage of you.
Well, Rick, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. Any lasting advice for people as we are now into the new year on the financial front?
I would tell everyone that the new year gives us an opportunity of a fresh start on our finances, and we ought to take advantage of it. No matter what financial shape you're in, you can improve yourself by being involved in the process. And I think that one of the most important things is for people to get a hold of their expenses, to put paper to pencil and to figure out what it costs you to live a month. Go through your expenses, write them down. By writing them down, you could see them for the first time, and then you can be more efficient. but no matter what financial shape you're in, you can make significant improvements by being involved in the process.
Rick, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.